session from today until Sunday. The party has faced a number of challenges, including internal squabbles and lack of trust as the governing party in the country. We're now joined via Skype, our senior reporter Samkele Maseko, who's on the line with us. A very good afternoon to you, Samkele. Of course, we understand that the ANC will have a number of issues that they're talking about in this ordinary session, but I do believe that the issue of elective conferences is top of the agenda. Talk to us about some of the major issues that are expected to take center stage at this meeting. No doubt the unity issue that we've been hearing of repeatedly, but what more can you tell us what we can expect?
Essentially, Flo, the issue of the regional conferences and the conferences and ultimately the national conference, which is meant to take place in December, will be the center stage of the National Executive Committee meeting of the African National Congress. But the first item on the agenda from the National Working Committee was the preparations towards the Mpumalanga Provincial Conference, which will take place the next weekend. In the National Working Committee meeting, which started at about 11 this morning, that was tabled before the NWC, and also how Dr. Gwen Ramokhupa is going to fit into the SGO office. Preparations going towards the Limpopo Provincial Conference, with Limpopo having passed the 70% threshold to hold the provincial conference within Limpopo. They want their conference date brought forward. There was also a report coming forth on the provincial conference meant to take place in the Northwest Province, one meant to take place in the Western Cape, and another meant to take place in the Eastern Cape Province, which is meant for the later part of April, where Oscar Mabuyane will be going head-to-head against Babalo Matikizela for that particular position. But first and foremost, the core business of the day of the ANC was to receive that report by the national head of organizing, and Nomvula Mokonyane, also an ANC member, which speaks to the political future of Batabile Dlamini, the ANC Women's League president, who has also been convicted of perjury and just waiting for a sentencing date, and essentially has to step aside from her position of influence as the ANC Women's League president, but also the term of office of the Women's League has lapsed, and thus the ANC will receive an NWC report from the head of organizing on the state of the ANC Women's League as Batabile Dlamini's political future hangs in the balance.
So, Samkele, I'm just interested really to know if there are any talks or discussions at all about the role, if any, of the former president, Thabo Mbeki. He's been crisscrossing the country really, talking unity, being more active within the ANC than we've seen before, and one wonders to what end. So I guess it's the ideal time to ask then, is there any particular role that he would then be playing going forward, apart from these, I'll call them unity tours for lack of better terminology, that he's been having?
Essentially, the involvement of former ANC President Thabo Mbeki has irked some within the ANC, particularly those whom belong to the faction of ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, who feel as if the former ANC president is over in the limelight more than the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, particularly when you look at the proposal that former President Thabo Mbeki should chair the ANC's committee, which will look into allegations of state capture, particularly those whom have been found to be in the firing line, like Gwereman Pasha, the ANC's national chairperson, and some feel as if Thabo Mbeki should not be chairing this particular committee. You've got the likes of Dakota Lekhwaite who've been saying that in fact Thabo Mbeki is the right person to chair this particular committee in order to assist the ANC to rid itself of those whom have been found wanting and have been fingered by the State Capture Commission of Inquiry and should be investigated further for wrongdoing. So the influence of former ANC President Thabo Mbeki will be in sharp focus in this National Executive Committee meeting of the African National Congress, particularly when you look at him and the influence that he's having in ANC structures. Many have said that he is back full force in the ANC to try and also influence the political trajectory of the African National Congress come the 55th National Conference in December of the ANC. But it seemingly looks like he's got a lot of influence, particularly when it comes to the policy direction of the ANC and also the rebirth and the renewal of the African National Congress, which has irked some within the ANC, not only those whom are in support of former President Jacob Zuma, but also those who are in support of incumbent President Cyril Ramaphosa, whom feel as if Thabo Mbeki is currently outshining the incumbent ANC president.
Sam, I digressed a little bit there. You actually mentioned something quite important. So let's move away from the Thabo Mbeki issue for a moment there. You spoke about Bathabile Dlamini, and this, of course, will be that first meeting since the Women's League president, was found guilty of perjury. We know that Pula Mabi has spoken on this issue, and maybe you can, for the sake of our viewers, just take us through, what the ANC stance and what they have been saying on this, because, I mean, it would be embarrassing. This is a wing of the ANC, and of course now this situation has now happened. So what exactly is the stance then?
Essentially, the ANC Women's League president, Bathabile Dlamini, now has to step aside because she has been convicted by the magistrates' court in Johannesburg on charges of perjury, and thus the ANC step aside resolution says those whom have been criminally charged, those whom have been found guilty by any court of law, must immediately step aside from their positions of power. One also has to understand that the ANC Women's League National Executive Committee has not been able to meet and to process reports of those who are charged and to process reports of those who have to step aside, which implicates the ANC Women's League president, Bathabile Dlamini, who is also a member of the National Working Committee of the party, who was first in that meeting earlier on today at 11 o'clock. In that report, which was tabled by Nomvula Mokonyane, who's also tipped to be contesting for a position of influence within the ANC Women's League come their elective conference on whether the ANC Women's League is still a legitimate structure of the African National Congress, knowing that their term of office has lapsed, that knowing that the National Executive Committee of the ANC Women's League has not met since last year around November to process any workings of the National Executive Committee and to process any of the guidelines going towards their own national conference, which will take place in about a month or so from now to elect new leaders of the Women's League. So thus, Bathabile Dlamini's political future hangs in the balance because she's been found guilty, and also the term of office of the structure has since lapsed.
All right, Samkele Maseko there for us, our senior reporter, talking to us about what to expect from the ANC NEC, which we are, and he is certainly watching with keen interest. We're going to continue then on this topic then, and for more on this, we're joined via Zoom by political analyst Rebone Tau. A very good afternoon to you, Rebone. Always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Good afternoon to the viewers at home.
All right.
And thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Thanks for being with us. Well, the ANC is known for holding such meetings with a view that, it may yield to outcomes pertaining to certain problems within the party. This time around, the issue of unity, as I was talking to with my colleague Samkele there. Do you think that these sort of meetings are effective anymore? When we look at the past in terms of some of the issues that were dealt with in the past, and were these NEC meetings really helpful in resolving some of the issues? And we'll certainly be watching with keen interest how they deal with the issue of unity, and I think now they're saying that they are united.
The result of the matter that the ANC has never, this leadership has never been united, since they were elected in 2017. And one of the things that they will be discussing at this meeting, is the policy conference and also the NGC, which we know that was supposed to have taken place in 2020 and did not take place due to COVID. Now, you must remember, once you are going to a policy conference or the NGC, which is likely to sit end of July, beginning of August, that's where you're going to see how divided the ANC is, because you will be seeing also provinces, pronouncing themselves within the plenary by the songs that they will be singing in terms of who they will be supporting. Because if you really want to know who's going to be the next president of the ANC or who is likely to come back, normally the policy conference gives you a sense because of what happens in plenary during that time.
So, one of the other things is, and I also discussed this with my colleague Samkele, is that we've been seeing the former president, Thabo Mbeki, touring across provinces in an effort to speak to ground structures regarding the renewal of the ANC and this unity, as I speak of. How much of an impact will these discussions have? And as I was speaking to Samkele, he said, in fact, if anything, his presence has made people uneasy, some people within the ANC structures uneasy. So one wonders what sort of impact all these messages and tours he's been doing will have on the party.
Truth of the matter is, a lot of people unease, with his presence, and some saying that, they never saw him under the era of the former president Jacob Zuma, and now him being back, and I mean, we just saw recently he was in the Western Cape, but which was very interesting when I spoke to someone who's based in the Western Cape, that even the meeting, there was only for the few that were invited, and this membership was saying that they were not invited to this meeting, so it was just managed that only a few are invited. So it's the reality of the matter is that yes, they might not be pronouncing themselves as the leaders in public, some, but in terms of in their own corners, they're not happy with his presence, that he's seen not to be a man that can bring unit, because he himself, stayed absent from the organization, and they are worried, what does this mean building up to the 55th conference of the ANC in December. He's come back, and also for his cabal, that which was known as the what we call the Class 96 project, them coming back, in the political arena, because most of them had taken a step back.
And another major problem that the ANC faces is the mistrust of South Africans. How can they make progress in regaining that sort of trust? I mean, especially considering the fact that they have their own internal issues that you and I are currently discussing.
I mean, one of the things, if you want to deal with, the ANC would really want to deal with the mistrust, it starts with the Zondo Commission report, especially Part 3, because Part 3 speaks about the ANC as an organization, an ANC that benefited the war room for elections, that was paid by Bosasa, the organizer, national organizer of the ANC, Nomvula Mkwanyana, being implicated in that report. You have Gwede Mandashe being implicated in that report, the national chair. You have the likes of Thabang Makwetla being implicated in that report. So the ANC, if it does not really come out clear, while this process, we know that, that things will happen at a government level, the president will deal with the issues at a government level, but the organization needs to really bring that confidence that South Africans can really trust the ANC, that indeed the ANC is no longer that ANC that will just protect one of their own, as an organization, not deal with issues that affect its members, because yes, there is the rule of the step aside, which is we know Rule 25.70, that once you are charged, but there's also the integrity committee on the other side, that role that the integrity committee needs to play of the ANC must kick in now.
All right, Rebone, always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks very much for giving us your time here on SABC News.
Thank you.
All right, that's Rebone Tau, a political analyst. They're also weighing in on the ANC NEC meetings.